That I earn from one smile more than your pocket money.
While you're in that phase when things are going so well, you never think it'll go away, which is the big mistake. I didn't even know what the Sensex was. It's very important to trust no one. Please don't be afraid of seeming stupid or dumb.
You can't sue us, Suchitra. We are an MNC. We're a multinational. Indian laws do not apply to us.
So let me ask you something. How many of us have nodded politely in a money conversation while internally panicking? You know, we discuss holidays, we discuss schools, we discuss skincare routines. I know I do. But money, well, that suddenly becomes awkward. You don't ask the questions, you just simply smile and you pretend you understand. And of course, later you Google it in the car. Not because we are incapable, okay? But somewhere along the way, we were taught that asking those money questions, well, it's embarrassing. Financial shame doesn't announce itself, it's very well behaved. It whispers, don't rock the boat. Someone else is going to handle it. Well, today on Project W, Women, Wealth, Wisdom, we are breaking that silence. I'm your host, Erica. We're going to be talking about courage, the courage to ask, the courage to question, and the courage to stop outsourcing our intelligence. Well, my guest today is somebody who understands reinvention and public scrutiny and emotional resilience and, of course, financial independence. She's quite the creative force. She's a thought provocateur, a woman who's lived many lives in one lifetime. Singer, actor, author, single mother. Suchitra Krishnamurthy. Suchitra, welcome to Project W, Women, Wealth, Wisdom.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad I got a chance to get you into this onto the show. I'm going to start at the top. You know, when you were young, a little girl, when you were talking about or thinking about getting into the industry, talk to us about that mindset and that frame of mind.
Well, first of all, I never thought of getting into the industry. I kind of just got into the industry because I literally got plucked off school. But the good thing, I think, since we're talking about, all things related to finance, dad had made us we all opened minor accounts at age 12. So we were already familiar with the process. There was this, when relatives came home, and it's an Indian custom.
Yeah.
The elders give you some money in an envelope, and you can keep it to yourself. So dad always had this thing that don't spend mindlessly. I mean, it's yours; you can do as you wish. But he started the system of putting money in the bank and everything when we were very young.
Yeah.
So I think below 12 was not allowed. So that's when he started ours or something. Now you can start it at age 1. But at that time, I think that was the thing. So, yeah, so I think in that sense, I was always not completely clueless and I was well guided.
Right.
Yeah.
But from a creative perspective,
Yeah.
did you ever think that, you're going to get into an industry, into the entertainment industry? What were those signs?
I mean, like I said, I literally got picked off a line that everybody else was standing in. And when I was asked for my photograph, I actually showed them my school ID because I didn't know something like a portfolio exists and stuff. So I literally started so clueless. And then, of course, I plunged into that world very fast. And it was very heady and very exciting. And I remember then at a certain stage, because my parents were essentially very traditionally middle class strict and they were completely against all this. So every time I signed on something or did a project, I had to promise them that it was the last. And and of course, all this, this all control was going on at one hand in terms of tradition and, you have to follow education and not the arts. And on the other hand, modeling and everything in those days, even whatever you earned was substantial. I bought my first car at like 18 or something. So things were very heady. And I remember at one stage saying that, dad was arguing that I'm getting, and he's going to stop my pocket money. I said, I earn from one smile more than your pocket money. And, he was so shocked, but he didn't get upset because he realized what I'm saying is the truth and that he has to handle it differently. So I think it's very important to have people with wisdom in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So going back to the early days, I think it was the early 90s. We can't forget that very sexy, sultry single that you came out with, the very jazzy one.
Aha.
Was it Aha?
The black and white
Yes.
sultry one
Oh
was
my
Aha.
God.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
That like took the industry by storm.
Yeah, that was like my fourth or fifth single.
Right, but
yeah.
by the time it actually blew up
Yeah,
was that
yeah.
particular song, I remember. But navigating the industry then, right?
Yeah.
It was very different. There were no contracts. It was very unorganized. It probably continues to be unorganized. Was there anyone helping you or advising you in terms of finance and financial decisions and signing contracts? All of that.
No, in fact, because my parents were so against my profession and what I was doing, I would actually fake their signature. And I was a minor, right? So I used to fake their signature. And there were contracts like advertising, the large campaigns, because I had done campaigns like, Clearasil and the Nescafe, Sunrise Coffee. So I'd done some of the large, big campaigns, Palmolive soap. So those had contracts, and I used to, of course, Palmolive. I could sign myself, but some of my earlier campaigns, yeah, I faked my parents' signature.
Wow.
Because if I told them that I'm doing this ad and I need your signature, they would have said there's no need to do it.
Okay. I don't think that's legal now.
Yeah,
Nor
but
was it
nobody
then.
found out then. It's never legal. Yeah, it's like kids signed the report. They forged the report cards, right? So for me,
Okay.
it was another report card.
Right. Okay. We'll come to how that inspires your daughter. Oh, going
I
ahead.
feel very proud of the fact that she never has to lie because everything is always okay. These are conversations I've had with my parents after we grew up. After I grew up, and as adults we could have it, because I think you should not give your children a reason to be so scared that they have to lie to you.
Right.
Right. So that's something I really believe in.
Okay. We're going to tease that a little bit later. But coming back to the creative industry, they often glorify struggle.
Yeah.
So, did that normalize financial insecurity in the early days? It's like, I'm this struggling artist, but it's okay.
I was never a struggling artist, so I never had those issues, frankly.
Okay. So you were one of the lucky ones.
I was,
luckier
yeah,
ones.
touch wood. Like I said, it just happened to me.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was one of those, it happened so easily and so gloriously. And then I just chucked it up chucked it all away without a thought.
Wow.
So I think I mean, there are many other women who've done that. But for me, it was not like I was struggling and waiting to get roles and nothing. It just all kind of boom, 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 boom.
And while this boom boom was happening, was your mind sort of ticking in the financial aspect? Did you ask those important questions? Were you thinking about money? Were you thinking about finance and investments as you were earning, big monies, like you said?
I'll tell you something and that's a very important lesson. While you're in that phase when things are going so well, you never think it'll go away, which is the big mistake. Because if you're not careful, it always goes away. And I mean, like I said, even, I was in my mid-20s when I bought my first flat and stuff like that. So, one assumes that things will always, but then you don't realize that you decided to quit work, but hello, then, your money streams are not going to be regular and all that. You don't give it a thought.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to give it a thought. So I think for anybody, I would now advocate, you plan your finances. It's not important to have money as much as it is important to manage money.
Right.
And it's not important to save. It's important to invest and compound. So those are the lessons I have learned the hard way.
Invest and compound.
Yeah.
And please plan. Plan for whatever.
Yeah. You can't blindly invest and,
Right.
get some knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. Was there a moment where you felt that you trusted somebody with money, and perhaps there was too much trust, and you'd lost control of it, or you felt that you were losing control of it?
Oh, totally. There was a time, I don't know if you've heard about it, but I took a multinational bank to court and I won the case after 4 years. It was a long time ago. I won the case in 2014. And I had come into a large sum of money, and I had entrusted the whole thing to them. And they kept kind of churning my portfolio. So they were earning huge commissions, and my portfolio was just dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And then there was the big economic crash. And, I was so naive, because though I had earned substantial sums of money, when I handed over my money to them, for example, I didn't even know what the Sensex was. I was just given these false promises of, we'll make your money grow by 24%. Instead, they made it deplete by 75%. And the gall and the guts with which the courage with which they cheated me and fooled me, and not just me, vulnerable people like me. At that time, I was amongst, I had a newborn child, and I was just a new divorcee, and I was amongst the most vulnerable sections of society.
Yeah.
And I remember, I tried to meet the head of the bank. I wrote to everybody. I was trying to go about it very sweetly. And then one day, the global regional head came to meet me, and he said, "Oh, Suchitra, I'm so sorry this has happened to you, but we'll make it up to you. All we need to do is just you put so much money more." So I said, I've been hearing that for 2 years now, that I put more so you'll make more for me. I'm not having any more of it. And if this continues, I'm going to take action. I may sue you. And he was sitting opposite me in my own house, and he starts laughing. And he says, "You can't sue us, Suchitra. We are an MNC. We're a multinational. Indian laws do not apply to us. Where will you sue us?" And I was so shocked when he said that to me. First of all, he should have been apologizing to me for the whole thing, but he's mocking me and saying, "Listen, I'm giving you an offer, take it or leave it, because there's nothing you can do anyway." I was so upset. So I started writing to headquarters in London, in the UK. I started meeting lawyers. I fought a case for 4 years. I would go and sit in RBI and SEBI every day. The bank was barred from trading till they cleared my dues, and they clarified why so much churning was illegally done on my portfolio. Thanks to me, a lot of people got compensation. Banking laws were made stricter, more, there was more vigilance that came into the system. Even now, it's like 12 years since the case, or 11 years since the case. I get these random forwards. Have you heard about Suchitra Krishnamurthy's case? And I'm so glad, because it was a thing that had to happen. It had to happen. And they were actually behaving like with impunity, like diplomatic, like, "You can't touch us." I'm like, "No, you can't get away with it. It's fraud." Of course, it was very stressful. I literally would go and sit in RBI and SEBI and everything every day. It really took its toll, but at the end of the day, I won the case, and we settled out of court. And I used social media for it. I would just keep tweeting. I had half the nation on my side, and it was great because so many cases came to light because of my case.
Right. So it comes down to, say, one is, lack of asking questions, the right kind of questions at the right time.
Yeah.
And a lot of women till today are backward or feel embarrassed to kind of pose those questions. It's like, am I going to look stupid? How can I ask that question? I'm, things like that. So what would you like to say to them?
Please don't be afraid of seeming stupid or dumb. You have to ask those questions, because as long as, like I've given my own example, as long as things are going well, they're going well. But you never know when, it turns.
Bottoms out.
Yeah. And you have to be prepared for it. And you have to be open to understanding and taking the necessary action. I think a lot of women have that thing that, "I don't understand finance. I don't understand business." I used to have that. I used to see numbers and my brain would freeze. It still does. But I'm not afraid of that freezing anymore. I feel like there are other ways I can deal with it,
Yeah.
So, but it's very important to ask questions, and it's very important to trust no one. I feel
Really?
it's where I have women friends who've thought they're leading this hunky dory life, and suddenly, the man's fallen in love with somebody else. He's abandoned the child and thing, and you're suddenly 45 years old, and you have nowhere to go, and you've been signing, blank checks and letting him take loans in your name, and no, it's crazy. Another friend of mine, she was really, this South Bombay wealthy business life. And one day her husband he was actually starting an airline. So you can imagine the level of wealth we're talking about. And he was just crossing a road, and he got hit by a car, and she was, of course, she was the housewife. And then she found out that for this business, he had even mortgaged the house they're staying in. So she had to move out.
Right.
So it's very important. And then she got stuck with just, I think, court cases and this and that for 5-6 years. So it's very important, even within couples in homes, to be knowledgeable about what's going on. A lot of families, they don't share the income sources or where the wealth is. Like I always tell my friends, you must put it on paper and share with your immediate family, you know, where your main accounts are, where your investments are, where your finances are. Keep your paperwork in order. I think keeping your paperwork in order is very, very important.
I'm glad you said that. Something like sharing a Google Doc where everyone's
Every
finances are on that piece of
yeah,
paper and
yeah.
everybody has access
your bank
to it.
accounts, your income, your investments, you know, your whatever,
Passwords and,
your
yeah.
passwords and your locker numbers and you know your bank account numbers, everything. I think is very important.
So, looking back at all that you've been through, let's talk about the red flag moments. I mean, hindsight's always 2020, right? If you had to look back and think, oh, that didn't seem right, or maybe I should have, done it here. What were those warning signs like?
I think when anybody promises you too much, you
Be
must, yeah, and you must read the fine print. Because what happens is we get so excited because we are naive and we are greedy.
Also, understanding the fine print, right?
Yeah.
We can read it, but
Yeah.
like, what does
Yeah,
this
so
mean?
so not be afraid to ask questions. And see, today with the world of AI,
Yeah.
there is no excuse to not ask questions. If you're shy, get on Chat GPT,
Yeah.
get on Legal GPT.
Yes.
You know, so there's no excuse to not ask questions anymore.
Okay. And like you mentioned, documentation literacy.
Yeah.
For someone in the business, for example, how important is it for you to understand what are the documents you're signing when you're talking about your IP, when you're talking about, hiring your talent and all of that?
I'll give you a very, very interesting example. So I'm really someone who's learned the hard way. So I'm glad you called me on this show. So like I said, I was not really, we trust people, we trust our banks, we trust our, associates, we trust our colleagues. So I authored a book called Drama Queen many years ago. Then I turned it into a play. And at one point, I had a producer and things were going fine. You know, we were running house full, everything. But then something happened and he stopped doing the show. So I kept hassling him, what the hell? Why aren't, so and so, there's this inquiry from here, inquiry. Then I found out that he's actually, it's my book on my life. I have written the music, I have written the dialogue. It's based on everything is mine. I've got actors, some of the finest actors in the country, to come and support me by giving me their voice. You know, whether it's Suchitra Pillai, Arif Zakaria, Ken Ghosh, Nagesh Kukunur, Karan Johar,
Okay.
Ram Gopal Verma. So I had Sujata Kumar, who's my sister, who she's passed away now. She played my Amma's role. So they just poured their heart out and they supported me. And like if a producer had to pay that level of talent, he wouldn't have been able to afford it. And I found out that this guy is trying to take the play away from me and do it with another actor and everything. And I was just horrified. Why did he have the guts to do it? I had not read the fine print. Because it said that for this period of time, I have handed over the theatre rights to him.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And of course, he was unethical and he was greedy and he had not paid anybody. In fact, there were workers and backstage hands and all used to come and ask me for the money. Anyway, bottom line, I took him to court. I'm great at taking people to court.
You've been there quite a bit, haven't
Yeah,
you?
I've been there a lot. I'll tell you another case. I'm still in court. I took him to court and again I won the case. But, and I considered him a friend before this.
Yeah.
So that's why I say trust no one.
Right. So clearly your fingers have been burnt, one too many times.
Scorched.
Been scorched.
Yes.
Jeez. I mean, there's so much to take away from this, right? You
It's trust. When you're
It is
naive,
trust, yeah.
when you're naive, you're very blessed if people protect that,
naivete, yeah.
yeah, naivete. And you're very blessed if you can have just even one or two people you can trust. Especially where money is concerned. I don't feel you can trust anybody.
Right. Let's come to single mom, being a single mom.
Yeah.
And, that equation, when that happened, when when you found yourself alone with a little baby, how did that change that relationship with money then? What happened then?
No, this bank case I was telling you about was at the same time.
Okay.
And it was awful because I reached a stage where I even sold off my flat and I had to sell off jewelry and, because I had not ever, I had land which I had acquired, I had to sell that off. So it was a kind of struggle that one would have not even imagined. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so coming out of that,
Yeah.
how did you find the pathway out? What was it that did someone guide you? Did you seek guidance, or was it just an internal, resetting?
No, I
of the
had a lot
system?
of blessings. So as much as people have fooled me, people have also supported me. So I had the blessings of friends and family who kind of bailed me out.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was very, very blessed in that respect. So yes, you can trust friends and family, but not anybody else. And even even amongst that, you have to be very, very selective, because when it comes to money and power, I people change, and that's what I've realized, that things are not constant. So even if somebody was way a while ago, it doesn't mean they won't be something else later, because their needs have changed.
Right. Okay.
So
Was there a point where you said, I can no longer, handle this responsibility? I need help from somebody else in terms of monetary help? Who helped you along the way and who guided you?
no. So I've had a wonderful family. I've had wonderful friends. Also, I never had problems where looking after my daughter was concerned, because that's something her father looked after entirely. But yeah, managing other expenses and everything, or myself, my life was something that I struggled with.
Okay.
And mind you, even what I'm saying is, like, I have friends who've struggled to pay school fees and stuff when
Yeah.
they've got divorced and stuff. It's been tough.
Yeah.
But so even when things are rough, I always like to look at the side of it that's also a blessing.
Yeah. So that's actually a good takeaway for somebody who's in, a situation like that and needs to rebuild their life. What would you suggest to them? How would they go about it? What are the steps to take?
I think, first of all, take stock and accept that things are a mess and you've messed up. Take advice. I think it's very important to ask for help from wise people, from knowledgeable people, from mentors, and just be open to learning along the way. I don't think there's one big thing you can do.
Okay. Okay.
It's like I always say that my takeaway from all this is, like, I always say, I don't know this yet, or I don't get this yet.
Yeah.
So you must never feel anything is over. It's just you haven't understood it yet. You haven't found your way around it yet. There are many next steps you need to do, and you can do.
Right. Now, when it comes to the business, have you, and this is really interesting, and I've spoken to a lot of people in the business of entertainment, have you struggled with finding the right price for yourself? Have you undervalued yourself in situations and commitments? And how does one go about trying to figure out, this should be the acceptable cost for my time or my IP?
I'll tell you something, that's a struggle that every artist faces, and I'm no different. I've given away all my music and all my stuff for, even today. I try to put a song, my own song, which I've sung and co-written, like this song you talked about, Aha.
Yeah.
It's composed by me and Raju Singh, but I can't even put it on my Insta or my Facebook or my thing without the music company swooping down and blacklisting me and not allowing the song. So I feel that this needs to be a complete shift in the way artists earn money. And if I can do anything in that regard, I would really like to work at it, because artists are the beggars. I'm not talking about the performers. The performers still can go out on stage if you want to.
Yeah.
And you can go and do the live stuff and make your money. But what about the creator? What about the lyricist?
Yeah.
What about the guy who's given you that fantastic jazz solo in the middle of your song? These are all creators. These are artists.
Right.
What are they earning? They're treated like beggars. Singers are treated like beggars, So the music industry works on a very feudal old system. And I think in India, not in the West, in India. And it needs to change.
Right.
So when people talk piracy, what are you doing? तुमने बलोचिस्तान से चोरी करके hit बनाया है ना? ये क्या तू why you hassle that somebody else is trying to steal your song? You've stolen it yourself. So no, I think the music industry something needs to be done.
Shake it up.
Shake it up. And
Yeah.
you see the most talented singers and composers and things, they're begging, "Arey, मेरा गाना कहाँ लगाऊं, क्या करूं?" Because everybody's now, you have to become big on, if you're a singer, you have to become big on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or some company has to take you over.
Yeah.
So artists need to find their own avenues. So if I think that is something, if I can provide, that's my life's mission.
Right.
And where they earn,
where they earn the fair share, where everybody earns their fair share and they're given respect.
Right. Okay. That's
See how strongly I
that's
feel
the
about
next
this
project. I
Yeah.
know. I can tell.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I
already
mean,
working on it, so
excellent.
let's see. Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, I think we need to understand, the values of IPs and
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
also find a group. I think a support group who would
Yeah.
figure out. Listen, I can't go below a certain price, and you should also value.
No,
your,
also
your
see
talent.
artists, like for example, I've got now into the publishing business,
Yeah.
so I just released my book 108 Quotes from the Bhagavad Gita, which is very unusual for me to write, but I think it's one of those things that wrote itself thanks to all these past problems I've had. And now I'm also publishing other authors. So I've always cribbed that, my cook earns more than authors and my driver earns more than authors. When I've been dealing, I'm a Penguin author, I'm a Hachette author, like,
Yeah.
everything. And I would always say, like, why are authors earning so little? So you understand that the publishing business is very difficult because nobody's reading these days. So I'm beginning to understand that. There are ways of generating revenue, but the music business, there's still very big money in it. It's like $1 billion trillion industry,
Right.
out of which the artists are getting 1%. These are statistics. I did a whole podcast called The Music Story. So I have all these statistics, So it's like and it's growing exponentially, what the artists are getting in India is just getting more and more marginalized.
So when it comes to your daughter, and when it comes to you, intergenerational wisdom, shall we say, have you sat down and had those conscious discussions with her about money and how to handle money and boundaries around it and all of that?
Yeah, so I do have those discussions, but she still has those hesitations that most people have, and which is like, I don't understand money, I don't understand business. Though I started making investments in her name,
Yeah.
very early, and I keep trying to get her involved. She's too much of a creator, artist, She's in that space. She's not had the knocks. Touch wood, I don't want her
Touch
to
wood.
ever have the knocks.
Yeah.
So blessed are they who don't have to, but you must always be prepared for contingencies, is what I feel.
Right. And what financial mistakes you hope that she would never make when it comes to, learning from you and what's happened to you in your life?
Don't stop working is one thing I would always say. Don't give up your financial independence. That is something I will always stress on for every woman in the world. Don't ever give up your financial independence. Like, even if you decide you want to quit, don't hand over the reins of your independence to anybody else.
Well, you're a thought provocateur.
I love that term. Isn't it nice?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I
sort of
made
makes you
that word
think.
up, by the way.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have
well
you heard it
done.
before?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what does what ideas about money, womanhood, and success do you most want to disrupt?
I think about success is that it's overrated, and you can have your own definition of success. Your definition of success doesn't have to be my definition of success.
Yeah.
And you should have the guts to not care for external validation of your success.
Yeah.
So that is success to me.
What idea of womanhood you'd like to disrupt?
That one has to be quiet and suffering. You don't have to. That there is no nobility in compliance and in suffering. That is a patriarchal brainwash that we all have to break.
Right.
Yeah.
What idea of success would you like to disrupt?
You define your own success. So if your own success is, today going and sitting in a mountain and chanting or whatever, do that. But have the guts to know that this is what you want, or have the truth to know that this is what you want, and you're not just doing it to defy your family, or, you're not running away from what you actually want.
Yeah.
That's a very tough call though sometimes, because we are all such creatures of conditioning.
We are,
To
yeah,
understand what is our own thinking and what is conditioning takes time.
Because we've not learned otherwise or know otherwise
Yeah,
oftentimes,
yeah.
and we don't even believe or understand that we are in this situation,
Yeah.
right? Till it's too late. Okay, let's move forward and talk about the world today and money and, financial digitization and all of that. How do you see yourself today handling the whole money situation?
I think there are so many opportunities. I think every woman should create streams of passive income for herself, frankly.
Yeah.
So whether it's through your, see, I feel it's like cash flow and capital optimization. So you have to optimize your capital and your income and everything in such a way that you have a steady cash flow that doesn't suck into your capital. Am I making sense? Generating streams of passive income are
Right.
very, very important.
And that obviously happens over time. Like you
It
said,
happens over
save
time.
and compound, save and compound.
Save and compound,
Yeah.
or I mean, I know women who are doing side hustles, and
Yeah,
there's no pride, no shame.
I like that.
No pride, no shame.
Right.
Just go after what you want and what makes you secure, and yeah.
So is this part of like future proofing your financial independence? This
Absolutely.
be part of the package.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
no shame in the game. Just go
No
in there.
shame in the game.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
yeah.
And why are women made to feel like ambition and wanting money and everything is shameful?
Yeah.
You don't. Very few men feel like, "अरे, I'm so ashamed that I want to earn money, यार. मुझे तो घर में बैठ के ऐसे झुक के बैठना चाहिए." Nobody talks like that. It's conditioning. It's centuries of conditioning,
Yeah.
where you're made to conform so that you are convenient for somebody else. But we have to learn to be convenient for ourselves.
That's right. Absolutely. I
yeah.
agree. And if you were starting again today, if you were starting right at the top, what financial skill would you learn first?
Just a lot about the stock market and how stock and the money works. So you don't blindly put your money somewhere, and you know where to make it grow.
You ready for some rapid one-liners? Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
One money term women should stop being afraid of.
Get rich.
Okay. One financial habit you wish you had learned earlier.
Investments.
Okay.
Yeah.
One myth about independence
That it's easy.
and one truth about asking for help.
It's necessary.
So here's the part that I love most. I ask every guest to give us 3 actionable tasks where women can, do or perform or say that'll help them cope and understand more about money. Today, of course, we're talking about asking those questions. So do you have some tasks for us to do?
I think all women should know their money, where it is, how it's invested, and how accessible it is to them. They should make sure that their money is accessible to them at all times.
Okay.
I think that's very important, because even, a lot of families have joint accounts, and there is a lot of money, but the women don't have access to it.
Yeah.
So I think women should always ensure that they have access to it. So, and you can do that. And anybody who doesn't want to give you that access or that information, you should ask them, because that's questionable intent. So that's something you must understand. It's not like, I'm upsetting him. No. Understand that, it's your right.
Right.
Like you're talking about being an apsara to just get your rights, It's your right. You don't have to be an apsara and do a
We have
striptease
to
or serve
work
dessert.
around a patriarchal mindset.
No, I don't think so. I think you just have to accept that your mindset is now as important, and be polite and be firm.
Yeah.
But you don't have to turn into an apsara or do something. You don't have to demean yourself in any way to demand your basic rights.
Okay.
It is your right. The laws give you that. The courts give you that.
Yeah.
The Constitution gives you that. So you give yourself that right, please.
Okay.
That's what I feel. But 3 is like, if you can read and write, and if you can, buy a Gucci bag, there's no reason why you can't Google and know about your rights, about the laws, about what you cannot do, etc. So there's no excuse except laziness, I think.
Right. Okay. Gonna thank you so much for joining us. This was such fun. Wonderful stories.
You looked quite shocked at some of the things I said. Yes.
No, but
I
it's-
feel very strong. I'm currently in court also. My mother had invested some money with this company, Bangalore-based company.
Yeah.
And they've just cheated all the senior citizens to Kingdom Come.
Right.
So, of course, mom passed and I took over, and I found all this happening. So, yeah, we're currently in High Court, may go to Supreme Court. So I
Right.
gather this. And people were like, what do? We are so and so age and we are helpless. And so, to me, again, I found the ethics of attacking the most vulnerable
Part of
section of
society,
society,
yeah.
which are the senior citizens.
Right.
And depriving them, cheating them of their life's earnings, I found it so despicable. I felt I had to do something about it. So, of course, I took my flag and I went to court. We are fighting. Let's see.
More power to you, Suchitra. Thank you so much for joining us on
Thank you.
Project W, and we're going to be in touch and follow all your stories.
And yeah, I hope what I say helps people.
It will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I that's my intention, not to tom about what I've done, but to know that anybody who's in the situation can do things.
It's not the question of even tom-tomming. It's so much to be learned by what you've gone through,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Yeah.
not, and you haven't taken it lightly. Things
Yeah.
have happened to you, and you've taken matters in your own hands.
Yeah.
That in itself is a lot of courage. So, like I said, more power to you, and thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So here's the truth we're taking home today. Power grows with questions. Silence around money matters just compounds confusion, adds a layer of shame perhaps to our ignorance. So today we choose questions. Questions, questions, questions. No polite nodding, no fake understanding, not I'm going to Google it later. No. I've got 3 small but powerful things to do. First, share this episode with one woman who needs to hear this story. Your friend, your sister, your colleague, your daughter. Or that one woman who always handles everybody else's money except her own. Second, please send us your story. Do you remember that first salary credited SMS? How did it make you feel? Or perhaps that investment you regretted or that business decision that you rushed? Look, no judging, of course, just learning, sharing your proudest moments and your money wins. The first property you bought, perhaps. We read every single message, and many of your stories will shape our future Project W episodes. And third, drop your questions. What should we talk about next? Could it be inheritance dramas? We know plenty of those. Career money moves, starting over at 40. Because trust me, if you're thinking it, someone else is living it. You can find us across all our socials at Project W by Mahamoney. And yes, your voice actually matters here. One more thing, if you're listening to this and thinking, I want to be in that room where these conversations happen live, well, stay tuned because Project W is not just a podcast, it is becoming a platform, a community, and very soon a real-world gathering of women across the country, and they'll be talking about stuff that will shape the future of money in India. Well, I'm Erica. This is Project W, Women, Wealth, Wisdom. And remember, your curiosity isn't cute, it is powerful. See you in the next conversation.